Irritation, anger, and sadness rushed through my head as I watched this film and as I think of what could have been had my grandmother not been a strong, wise, and multi-talented woman. The apartheid government was an oppressive system that was thriving on the discomfort and disadvantage of the ordinary black South Africans. The last grave of Dimbaza shows how the white minority starved and exploited black people for their own enrichment. Both my grandparents lived and survived in these harsh conditions, and all those who didn't have the means to survive died. It is through these difficult circumstances that my grandmother's heroism seems to prevail, as my mother was born 1 year later after this film was made, in a similar place in the Transkei. My grandmother ensured my mother survived so that I could survive. The story of the last grave of Dimbaza only focuses on the horrors of apartheid and starvation. But it doesn't allow people like my grandmother the opportunity to speak. This film doesn't allow you the opportunity to speak on the cleverness, courage, and patience it took to survive under these harsh conditions. It doesn't give you the opportunity to vent on what it was like raising 5 children when Ntate Moholo was working in the mines. Sometimes I wonder what stories he would tell you when he got home. Would he tell you how bad his living conditions were? Would he tell you what he ate every day? It also makes me wonder what his heartbeat would be like when he knew he was finally going home to see his family. I struggle to fully grasp how people like my grandfather survived the hardships of working in the mines during apartheid. It's mind-blowing how he was able to work so many hours underground and still not bite the dust. It's surprising how even today, black men are still brutally treated in society. Nota Baloy on Hustler's Corner articulates the depth that comes with being a black man in our society today.
The black man is the one that takes the bullets when the oppressor is coming and committing genocide. Men die in their youth, especially black men. The riskiest time for a black man is between the ages of 14 and 24. In that 10-year band, that's when most black men die.
The filmmaker perfectly describes the conditions of the Transkei.
The Transkei is desperately poor and underdeveloped. They are, as one black leader said, cesspools of poverty, ignorance, and disease.
And knowing that my grandmother, my mother, her siblings, and other people in the Transkei were living in such conditions shows that black people were not just victims of apartheid, but they were heroes that tried to survive the challenges that became their norm. My mother is also a hero. I believe her survival during those hard times in the Transkei was for a greater good. Even though she was made to believe she was inferior to a white person through the education she received, and also through her partially working as a domestic worker, she still realized she has a bigger purpose in life. Her becoming a nurse and working at a pediatric ward has allowed my mother to save and take care of children suffering from malnutrition and kwashiorkor. My mother is a hero because it is through her care that children don't end up in graves similar to those in Dimbaza. Even though the film focuses on the victimization of black people, I believe there are true heroic stories that are still untold. And how my grandmother was able to survive those tough situations of apartheid is a true heroic story worth telling itself.